Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Aishwaryatube and today I'm back with yet another video for you guys. So in this video, we will be exploring the first project in our Web Development Bootcamp. This will be a basic HTML project wherein we will be learning about some of the most basic and the most important tags in HTML. And with this knowledge, you will be able to master HTML eventually. So if you are at all interested in learning more about this, then let's get started with today's video, shall we? So first things first, this is how the website looks like. It starts with introducing yourself. Your name will be mentioned here in bold, and then you also have your qualifications or whatever you would like to call yourself. Then we have an image here so that the person who's viewing your portfolio will be able to relate with you on a personal note. Then we have the about section wherein there's some content here that describes you. We have the honors and achievements section wherein all your awards or any achievements that you have got in your school, in your college, in your higher secondary can be displayed. This is dummy data. By the way, any content that you see on this portfolio may not be real. So this is dummy data. You can replace it with your data. And then we come to the next section, which is the education section. This is going to be one of the most important section in this HTML project because here we are exploring something in a table format, or I can say that we are displaying content in a tabular format. So we will learn about the table tag in HTML, and then comes the next section, which is the hobbies section. So in the hobbies section, there's a list that we are displaying of all the hobbies that we are interested in, and then comes my philosophy wherein we are listing three quotes or three lines that you believe in or that we swear by. And finally, towards the end, we have a get in touch form wherein the user can input his or her name and email and then submit the form, and on click of this submit button, the page will refresh and we will come back to the start of the page. And of course, I missed one thing, which is the footer. So once we are done with all the content on the page, we have a horizontal line which is sort of breaking the content from the footer, and then in the footer we have given credits to the person who has developed this. Of course, you can replace my name with yours once you are done building this project. So this is something that we are going to do today. It's a pretty basic project, but if you don't know HTML, then it's a perfect project for you in order to know about all the tags that we need to use in HTML. Trust me when I'm saying this, all the tags that you possibly need to know are there in this project. With that being said, let's get started with today's video. Let's get started with coding. So the first thing that we need to do is have an IDE to code. So many people, they work with different IDEs. I started working on Atom first, but then eventually shifted to VS Code because I thought that VS Code was better for me. So anything that suits you will do. You can do your thorough research as to which IDE you want to use. I'm using VS Code right now, so you can follow me. It's easy to download VS Code. Just type VS Code on Chrome and download for Mac or for Windows. So what I will do right now is open the terminal of VS Code. So the shortcut to do that is Ctrl+J on Windows. So open your terminal and then you can go to any folder wherein you want to create a folder, right? Go to any folder in which you want to create a folder. Now in this case, I have documents. Then I have a folder in documents called SnapDev, and inside SnapDev I want to create a folder. So first I will go inside the SnapDev folder, and here I will create a folder by saying mkdir, okay, which means I'm telling the terminal to make a directory for me. So mkdir is nothing but make directory, and then I will just name this folder basic portfolio, or I will just say basic HTML portfolio. Okay, now with this I have created a folder inside SnapDev. Now what I want to do is I want to open this basic HTML portfolio in my VS Code. So I will switch to this and say code dot. So code dot will open the folder as a new VS Code window for me, and this is how it looks like. So I can close the other one and start working in this folder. Now the first thing that I need to start with HTML is an HTML file. So let's create one. index.html. Now you can name this anything, but the convention is to name it as index.html, but you can name this anything that you want to. It will work unless and until you're copying the right path from here and then pasting it in your browser. So index.html will work. Now the next thing is to get the boilerplate of HTML. So you might have heard many people saying that HTML has a boilerplate, and it's a markup language, so it will have a boilerplate. Now in order to get that boilerplate on VS Code, you can try one simple trick. All you need is the exclamation mark. So you can see that once I type the exclamation mark, it's saying emet abbreviation. So all you need to do is press enter, and then you will be able to get the boilerplate of HTML right in front of you. You don't need to write this from scratch, because at times when we do development, we don't really have to write this from scratch. So this is something which is expected. Now this is how the boilerplate looks like, and in this boilerplate you will be able to see the title of the web page. So the title that you see on every website inside your tabs, that title is here. This is where we set the title of a particular web page, and any content that you see on the website, it should be inside the body tag, and these are tags. This is what we call as HTML tags. So if I just show this to you on the blackboard, then every HTML tag, in fact, if you take the first tag, which is HTML, right? If you can see on VS Code, the first tag is HTML. So every HTML tag has an opening tag. This is the opening tag, and the closing tag. Okay, every HTML tag has an opening tag and the closing tag, and the content that you want to display in this particular tag should be used in the middle. Okay, so in the middle of the two opening and closing tags, you have to display the content that you want to display on your screen. So now we'll know how we can write something inside two tags and then display it on our browser. So in order to do this, we will first play around with a simple heading tag. So when it comes to this heading tag, there are 6 different types of heading tags: H1, H2, and this will go up till H6. Okay, so remember, the darkest and the boldest heading tag will be H1. So here you will be able to create maximum impact, and the lightest is the H6 tag. Okay, this will be the lightest heading tag. So if I go back to VS Code, then I will just write all of these heading tags, and then you will be able to see the difference between them. So let's say I have H1, and I will just write hello world inside, and I will just copy and paste this 5 times. Okay, and now all I will do is I will change the number. So instead of H1, I will make it H2, H3, so on and so forth till H6. So this will be H2, this will be H3, H4, H5, and H6. Okay, so remember that if you have an opening tag as H1, then the closing tag should also be /H1. Okay, you can't have a different opening tag here and a different closing tag on the other end. Now save this file, and in order to view this file, all you have to do is right click on the file and then choose this option of copy path. So copy the path, go to your browser and paste it right here. Now you can see this is the H1, which is of course the boldest. Then we have H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. So you can see it for yourself that as we move from H1 to H6, the boldness reduces and also the size reduces. This is why we have 6 different heading tags, and now we can just play around with them and we will see what we actually require. So this is the website that we want to mimic, and I can see that this looks like a heading tag. So if you compare hello world and this one, this looks like an H1 tag. So I will use an H1 tag for this. So I'll remove the other heading tags. I will use the H1 tag and I will just say hello. I'm Aishwaryatube. Okay, now in this case there's an emoji here. So on Windows, you can just open your keyboard and go to the emojis section. Now this is completely your choice if you want an emoji here like this, and then close this. Okay, so with this you have a hello emoji, and then you're saying I'm Aishwarya Parab. We have the heading tag in place, but after the heading tag you can see that here your qualifications are placed, right? Now how will you show these? Now it can't be a heading tag because we just noticed here that heading tags have a bold nature, right? But if you check this out, there's nothing bold over here. It's like a plain text. So for plain texts, we have something called as paragraph tags. Okay. So inside our VS Code, I will use a paragraph tag which is depicted by the P symbol, and then I will just say software developer, engineer, tutor, and learner. Okay, so this is a paragraph tag, plain simple paragraph tag, which is used for plain simple text. Okay, it is that simple. So now if we go to our browser, you will realize that even after saving the file, the browser is still showing us all the heading tags. So why this is happening is because even after you save your index.html file, this browser, this instance of your browser is showing the index.html of your previous version. So it's showing the previous version of your index.html file. Even after you saved it with something else, those changes are not getting reflected here. So in order to see those changes, all you will have to do is just hit on refresh. So once you refresh the page, this is the new version of index.html or the current version of index.html. So remember, after making any change in your index.html, if you want to see those changes reflected here, then you will have to hit refresh. Okay. So now you can see hello, I'm Aishwarya Parab, and you can see the paragraph tag, and it looks quite similar to this one. I know that here it is centered and we haven't aligned it in the center as yet, but let's do one thing. Let's use the image first and then we'll move ahead into centering the elements. So in order to use an image in any website, we use the img tag, which is nothing but the image tag. So in this case, we will use the img tag, but this is a self-closing tag. Self-closing tags are those tags that do not have a separate opening and closing tags. Okay, I feel it's very simple to understand. In the case of any h1 tag, you have an opening h1 tag, then you have some content, and then you have the closing h1 tag. Okay, this is a slash. But in this case, in case of a self-closing tag, for example an image tag, you have the name of the tag and then you're closing it right here. And we don't have anything in this case because we don't have content to display, right? We have a link to display and we already have an attribute to handle that. Now I will come to what an attribute is, but remember that an image tag is a self-closing tag which will have this slash symbol right here. Okay, we won't have something like img and then another slash img. This won't be there in case of an image tag. Okay, so this is the self-closing image tag, and as I said, in this case we are not displaying any content. We are displaying an image which has a link. Every image has an address, every image has a link, and that link should be given to one attribute of this image tag. Now the image tag has two important attributes, the src attribute and the alt attribute. Okay, now what is the use of the src attribute? The link which will display our image should be given to the src attribute. And what is the use of the alt attribute? The alt attribute will give a name to your image. So at times you might have noticed that your images don't load, right? Whenever you check any website, sometimes the images don't load. Sometimes the images might have a broken image URL. Maybe the image URL might not work. Now in cases like these, the user should know what this image was depicting. Suppose there's a logo on a particular website and that logo is not getting displayed, then the user should know that this is a logo which is not getting displayed. It's not an icon, it's not any other icon. So in order to tell the user that this is the name of the image, we should fill the alt attribute. Okay, alt attribute. Now the most important thing right now is to show the image, right? So we need a URL. So in this case, there are two things that you can do. Either you can grab an image from the browser and copy the image address and put it here, or you can have images in your folder itself and then give the address of that particular image or give the path of that particular image. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my image, and my image is not on the internet. So I will just make a folder of images right here. Okay, and in this folder I will put one image of mine. So here in this case, you can see this is one image that I have. I have named it as profile.jpg, and it is inside the images folder. Okay, so wherever your image is saved, just drag and drop and put it inside the images folder. Now what I want to do is I want to give the path of this particular image to my src attribute, and let's see how we can do this. So in this case, I want to access the profile.jpg file inside my index.html. So in index.html, I have an img tag, and that img tag has an src attribute to which I want to give the file path of profile.jpg. Okay, so what will I do? I will say from index.html, which is dot, okay, dot slash. So I'm saying from this, from the same path as index.html, I'm saying go to the images folder. Okay, remember when I say dot, I mean the current directory. So if I'm writing a code inside index.html, then dot slash means the current directory. Dot slash means this. Okay, from here I'm saying go inside the images folder. So I'm saying go inside the images folder, and from the images folder access the profile.jpg file. Okay, I hope that this is understood. How we have taken the path is understood. So I can use that path here as well. So I will just say dot slash images. Now VS Code is so smart that it will give you suggestions. So VS Code knows that in this current directory I have two things, the images folder and index.html. So I will select images and then profile.jpg. With this, we will be able to see this image on our browser. So if I just hit save and then refresh, then this is the image, but you can see that in this case the image is too large. Okay, it's not as if it was displayed on this website, so we need to give it certain width and height parameters. So the image tag also takes width and height attributes. So what I have found is that for this image, the width of 450 pixels looks good and the height of 350 pixels looks good. Now in this case, the dimensions are in pixels, and width and height is something that we all know of. Now when you take your image into consideration, you need to figure out which is the width and which is the height that will suit the most to your image. So I will just hit refresh, and this is the image. This is how it looks like. In this case, it's not stretched, it is of the proper aspect ratio, and these are the values that I found that suit most to this image. So it's pretty similar to our existing portfolio. The only difference is that this is not center aligned, right? So in order to center align content, we use the center tag. So we can just go ahead and use it. So to the h1 tag, I will just say, so inside the h1 tag, I will just say center, and I will copy this and paste it inside the center tag. So this is the center tag, CENTER. So many people make the mistake of writing TRE. Okay, it should be TER. And just by saving this, going back to the browser, I can see that my h1 tag has already centered itself. Similarly, I can center the p tag and the image tag. So we'll just do that. I will copy this and paste it here. And in order to center the image tag, I will use the center tag first here. And then inside the center tag, I will paste the image. Something like this. Okay, so this is how it will look like after saving this. This is how it will look like. So we have completed the first portion of this website, which is the introduction section. After this, we can now move ahead with the about section. So if we check the about section here, we know that there's a h2 tag. So this looks like an h2 tag, and it cannot be an h1 tag because here we are displaying something which is much bolder. So this is an h2 tag, and then there's some content after the h2 tag. So we'll come back to VS Code and after some space, we will write an h2 tag. Inside the h2 tag, we will say about me, and then followed by a paragraph tag. So I will just copy this along with the emoji and paste it here. I will save this and let's see how this looks like. Yeah, okay, it looks exactly similar. I believe this was very easy to do. And now we can move ahead with the honors and achievements section. So we'll come back here and we will have another h2 tag that is about honors and achievements. Okay, now let's see what we exactly require inside honors and achievements. You can see that this is one award, right? This is one award. Similarly, this is another award. So there is like a differentiation between these two, but they are the same entities. It's nothing but one award, and one award has more things in it. Just to represent this, there's another tag called div. Okay, divs. Div is nothing but we are making divisions. We are making divisions between these three awards, but every award has the same entity. It has the award name, it has the organization that has given the award, and it has the year in which that award was given to you. So we can call this one div, we can call this another div, and we can call this the third div, but internally each div has the same properties. It has the same layout. Okay, so let's do this on VS Code. So here we will have one div. Okay, what is there in this div? First, we have a bold paragraph tag. You can see that this is not a heading tag. Actually, it is bold. It's actually a plain text which is bold. So if you want to bold any text, then we have a tag called strong. Okay, that is the strong tag. So we will use the strong tag, and inside the strong tag we will use ABC award. Okay, so ABC award. Now after the strong tag, if you can see, we have an italic tag. Okay, something that can make our text italic. So to do just this, we have a tag called EM, which is the emphasis tag. So we make something italic when we want to give emphasis to that particular tag, right? So in this case, the EM tag represents that, and here I'm giving the name of the organization, which is Microsoft Incorporation. And then we can see that there is the year mentioned, okay, the year in which this award was given to you, and this is a paragraph tag. So I will use a paragraph tag here, 2015 to 2016. Okay, 2015 to 2016. I have saved it already. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, so this is how it looks. So immediately you might have noticed a few changes. The first change is that this Microsoft Incorporation is in line with the award, but this shouldn't be the case, right? Microsoft Incorporation should be down, so it should come to the next line. So if you want something to come to the next line, then you will have to break that line, right? You will have to give a break to that line. So to do just this, we have a break tag. That tag is called as the break tag, and since we don't have to display any content using the break tag, it is a self-closing tag. So after the strong tag, you can just say break. Okay, BR tag. The BR tag is called the break tag. Of course, when we are breaking a line, we don't want to show any content, so we don't have a separate opening and a closing break tag. It is a self-closing tag. So once I save this, you will notice the difference right here. So Microsoft Inc. has gone to the next line. Now one more difference that we can observe here is that the year has taken a separate line, but we don't want it to be on a separate line. Apart from that, if you notice our existing website, you will realize that the size of the year is quite smaller than the size that we can see right here. Okay, the size here is quite smaller than this one. So in order to reduce the size of your paragraph text, like you have simple paragraph text, right? Now if you want to reduce the size of your existing paragraph text, then you will have to use another tag called as small. It is called as the small tag. So instead of p tag, you can use the small tag, and once you refresh this, this is exactly what we wanted. Okay, Now you might have realized now that there are a few tags that take the entire width of your device, and there are a few tags that only take that much width which it requires. For example, when I used a paragraph tag for the year, it took the entire width of the device. But when I used a small tag, it is only taking that much width which is required. It is taking only the width of the content. Now the same case applies to the strong and the EM tags. You might have realized that the strong tag is also not taking a separate line. It's only taking that much space as much as its content, and similarly the EM tag is only taking that much space as much as its content. Okay, so there are a few tags that will take the entire width of your device, and there are a few tags that will only take the width of the content that is given to it. Now here what we need to do is we will have to copy paste this div 3 times. Okay, so I will just copy this, paste it here, done, and I will hit refresh. You can see that my honors and achievements section is almost getting ready. Now why did I say almost? Because if we check our actual website, you can see that there's some space between each award. They are spaced out very nicely, and that's why they look beautiful on the screen. But when it comes to this website, we don't have enough space, and we already know which is the tag that can generate space for us, which is the tag that can leave line for us. So before I use it, you can guess which is the tag that can leave a line for us, and that tag is the BR tag. So we will just copy paste this BR tag and paste it here as well. And after hitting refresh, you can see that we have generated some space between each award, and now the honors and achievements section looks exactly similar to our section. Now the next section and the most important one is the education section. Now the first thing is very easy. This is an H2 tag, so we will go back to our VS Code and we will say H2. Inside this H2 tag, we will write education. And after this, we have something very interesting. We have a table. Okay, this is a table. This is a table. Now let's understand how this table is formed. In order to display a table on a web page, we will require the table tag. Okay, yes, you heard me right. We have something called as the table tag, and it is an opening and a closing tag. So you will have an opening table tag and a closing table tag. Okay, now inside this table tag, we will have rows and columns. So we all know that a table has rows and columns. Now the rows of a table will be depicted by the TR tags. Okay, table rows, which is also an opening and a closing tag. But let's understand how our table takes data. So this is a simple example. In this example, we know that this table is made using the table tag. In this table, how many rows are there? There are 3 rows, which means we will have 3 TR tags, right? You will start with a TR tag and you will end with one TR tag. Okay, so 3 TR tags, 3 such TR tag pairs will be there. Okay, now this is the heading of the table. Of course, this will have some different styling as compared to the other data of the table, right? So in HTML, to display the heading of a table, we have tags called th. Okay, we have tags called th. And how do we write these? How do we write the th tags inside the tr tags? Now this will be your first th. By the way, this is again an opening and a closing tag. So this will be your first th, this will be your second th, this will be your third th. So in a row, we go from left to right. Okay, in a row, in order to fill the data inside each cell of the row, we will go from left to right. So first, how will we write this? I will say tr and I will close the tr tag. Inside this one row, I have 3 table headings. Okay, so I will say th, which is the first table heading, and to this I have some content of exam. This is the first content, and then I will close the th tag. I will open another th tag which represents the second table heading, and then I'm writing institution, and I will close the th tag. Then I have the third th tag, which is representing the third table heading, and here I have percentage, and I will close the th tag. With this, I'm done with putting the data into the first row. Okay, I have inserted the data into the first row. Now if I want to continue with another row, what do I want to do? I will have to use another tr tag. Okay, this is another tr tag. Now we have realized that we no longer have any table headings. Now we have table data. So if we notice the table, this is our table, right? So table headings are already there, so we cannot use the th tag again because these are not headings. This is representing the data inside the table. So for simple table data, we have a tag called td. Okay, td is the name of the tag. So for the second row, remember that this will be your second row. Okay, so for the second row, instead of having th tags, we will have td tags. So td, I will say ssc first, and then close the td tag. Td again. After ssc, I am mentioning the name of the institution. So remember, we are going from left to right. So we have already inserted this. The second thing to insert is the name of the institution. So I will say high school here. And then finally the percentage. Okay, so finally td, I can say any percentage or 93%, and close the td tag. Now if I want to insert another row, then I will need another tr tag, and inside that pair of tr tag, I will have to display 3 more td tags. Okay, so I hope this is clear. I hope how we write a table, how we display a table using HTML is clear right now. We can implement this in VS Code now. So this is how the table is used on our website. You can see that we have 3 headings, which is exam, institution, and percentage or CGPA. So let's implement this in VS Code. First we need to use the table tag. As I said, the table has an opening and a closing tag, and after that we need to start with our first row. So to start with our first row, we need to use the tr tags, and inside the tr tags we are going from left to right. So we are using our headings here, for which we need the th tags. Now the first heading is exam, so we will write exam. The second heading is institution, and the third heading is percentage or CGPA. Okay, percentage or CGPA. With this, we are done with the first row. Now we need to move ahead with the second row. So for the second row, we have another pair of tr tags, and in this case we don't have any table headings, but we have table data. So we will use the td tags, and inside the td tags, the first data is ssc. We are going from left to right, by the way. So ssc, and then the institution, which is ABC High School, and then the percentage, which should be 93%, I guess. This is not aligned properly, and done. Now in order to create the third row, you can just copy this and paste it right here. Now the third row has HSSC, PQRS, higher secondary school, and 88%. So I will just copy that here. PQRS, higher secondary school, and this will be HSSC. This will be 88%. Okay, and the last row says BTech, LMN, College of Engineering, and 85%. So I will just copy the previous row and substitute this with BTech, this with LMN, but here we are doing engineering, so we have to substitute this by College of Engineering, and the percentage is 85. So as we gradually moved ahead in our education journey, our percentage kept on decreasing. Okay, that is what I'm trying to signify here. So with this, we should be done with our table. So we will come here and hit refresh. and you can see that we have a table here. We have displayed our content in a tabular format. So good job if you have completed the tutorial till here, but you will still realize that this table looks a bit odd as compared to this one. So in this table there's space and it looks nice, right? So in order to generate this space, now what can you see here? Let's see the difference. SSE starts before exam. Okay, SSE starts before exam doesn't look good, but in this case SSE has some space. So by default, this is how the table was. But in this case, there's a space before SSE. Similarly, there's a space before ABC, PQRS and LMN. That's why it looks good. There's also a space before 93, 88 and 85%. So in order to put some space in your HTML, you won't be able to do that by doing this. So if I have some space here and if I save this and then if I refresh, you can see that there's no change here. Even if there's a space here, after refreshing there won't be any change here. Okay, so just by putting a space in your code, that space won't be reflected here. So if you want to put a space in your HTML, there are some special characters that you can use. So you can go on Google and just say space in HTML, and this is the character that you need to use, NBSP. Now do you need to remember this? No. Do you need to know about this? Yes. Okay, you need to know that there is a character in HTML that can give you space, that can generate space on the browser. You may not remember it because Google is there to help you out. Okay, so copy this, go to VS Code, and just before SSE you can give this space, and then after that give some space and then say SSE. So I'll just refresh this and immediately you can see that there's some space before SSE, and this space was generated because of the HTML character that we used. So let's do one thing, go back to our VS Code and let's use this HTML character before all our data elements. Okay, so I will just copy this and use this all over. So press Alt and keep on clicking at the start, then paste and then put a space. Okay, save this, go back and hit refresh. Now you'll be able to see that everything is aligned properly and it's quite similar to this table. Okay, but one thing that I just noticed is that here we have document and here we have portfolio, and as I said earlier, this document is nothing but the title of your website which appears in the tabs. So we can go right here and change the title, right? This is the first thing that we should have changed, but we can change it now as well. So after hitting save and after refreshing, this is how it looks like. Don't worry about this icon that you can see here. After we are done with the code, I'll let you know how we can use a fav icon inside our HTML website. By the way, this icon is called as a fav icon. That's why I said that. But I feel now is a great time wherein we can make our code a bit cleaner. You can see that we have a lot of code here, and sometimes it can be intimidating. Sometimes it looks as if it's not clear, right? We have an h2 tag here, suddenly we have a lot of br tags, then again we have an h2 tag. We can sometimes make mistakes. So if you want to change about me, I can go ahead and change education instead, right? By mistake I can change the education h2 tag instead of the about me h2 tag. So in order to not make such mistakes and in order to segregate your code or separate out your code, we can clean our code using the section tags. So in HTML we have something called as the section tags, and we can make use of them right now. So let's do one thing, let's section everything out. So on our website, this is our current website, we know that this section is the introduction section. So I will just call this the intro. Then I know that this section is the about section. Now when I say section, you can think of section as timestamps or as chapters in your YouTube video. So in your YouTube video, when we give timestamps, YouTube automatically creates chapters, right? Now why are those chapters created? So that it is more clear to the viewer as to how the video is divided. So it makes things simple to the viewer. Similarly, when we write clean code, we are making things simple to the developer. The developer should know what each code is meant for. That's why we are making sections, which is nothing but we are making divisions. Okay, so let's do that. let's put this entire code, see till here, from the h1 to the image, let's put this entire code in a section called as intro. Okay, so I will say section, and I will copy this and paste it inside. Just make sure that the alignment is correct. After that, every section can be uniquely identified, and there are identifiers in HTML that will help you to uniquely target or identify a particular element, and those identifiers are called as IDs or class. Okay, IDs or classes. Now we will move ahead to classes in a while, but as of now the most unique identifier used in HTML is ID. So let's stick to ID, and we can give any name to this ID. So I will just say ID, and I will say intro. Okay, this is a string, by the way, and we can give it any name. It can be intro, this can also be about me. I can name this as about me, but right now about me won't suit the content which is inside the section, right? That's why I've named it intro. Similarly, we can create a section of the about me. So I will say section, and inside this section I will copy this and I will paste it here. Okay, to this section I will give it an identity of about me, not an identity, sorry, an ID of about me. Now the next section that I will create is for honors and achievements. Now this, if I name it as honors and achievements, it will be pretty big, so I will just name it as achievements. So all the code of all three divs will go inside this section. I will just make sure that everything is aligned properly. Now everything is aligned, and to the section I will give it an ID of achievements. Okay, IDs should be in lowercase typically, that's why I have changed the capitalized A to a lowercase a. And now I will save this. The education section was also done, so I can create another section here with an ID of education. And inside this section I will just copy this and paste it, this entire table. Okay, so make sure that everything is well aligned, and we are done. So now your question will be as to how is this helping me, right? Even now I can see so many tags, and I can get confused between the h2 tag of this achievements and the h2 tag of about me. So how this will help me is by decluttering my space. So if I'm done with the intro section, I can close it. Done. Okay, I have closed the intro section. I cannot see the code inside the intro section because I've closed here. Okay, if I want to expand the intro section, then I can expand it. It's that easy. I'm done with the about me section. I'll come here, close it. I'm done with the achievements section. I will close it. I'm also done with the education section. I will close this. So right now I can very clearly see that I'm done with 4 sections. I also know the names of those 4 sections, and I can proceed with further sections. And if I want to change any code, now if I want to change the h2 tag of about me, then I will have to expand the about me section alone and then go ahead and make a change. So I don't need to worry about making mistakes from a developer's perspective. Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope now we know why we are making sections and why such tags are given to us in HTML. So moving on with our website, after the education table, we can see hobbies here, and we can see a list of hobbies. So we will now see how we can create a list of items. So the first thing is, let's create an h2 tag. Our approach will be a bit different this time. We will create a section tag first. Inside the section tag, we will give it an ID. So we can just say hobbies because it is short and simple. Then we will have an h2 tag. We will write hobbies over here, and then a simple paragraph tag which will have this paragraph. Okay, what does it say? It says that your hobbies keep you alive literally, and here are some of mine. Okay, now how will you create lists? How will you create list items? This is something that we are going to learn next. So the next thing is about list items. it's very important to understand the different types of list items that HTML supports. There are two types. Okay, first is an unordered list, and the second type is an ordered list. Okay, for an unordered list we use the UL tag. Okay, I think it's pretty clear. Unordered list, that's why UL. Okay, now you can pretty much guess what will we call an ordered list. It is OL. Okay, ordered list, OL. Now what is the difference? UL is nothing but those bullet points, because we know that we can showcase list items using the bullet points. These bullet points are there everywhere, right? You can find these in your Word, in your Google Doc, Excel. So this is an unordered list. It doesn't really have any order. It doesn't really have any preference. So you're not saying 1, 2, 3, or you're not saying ABC, or you're not saying I, those two I's and then these three, or there are no Roman numbers such that you can order the list, right? So you're not giving any order. That's why it is called as unordered list, and that's why we can use bullet points. There are other bullets as well that you can use, but right now I'm not teaching all of those. I'm just teaching the bare minimum thing that you need to know. Okay, but when it comes to code, how do we write this unordered list? So let's learn that next. So talking about unordered list, when it comes to code, an unordered list has an opening and a closing tag. Okay, but inside you need to display the list items. In order to display the list items, we have a separate tag called as the list item tag, the LI tag. Okay, it is the LI tag. So let's say if I want to say reading, so reading which has a bullet point, reading with a bullet point, something like this. So if I want to say something like this, I will say LI, an opening tag. Inside this, the content is reading, and then I will close the LI tag. Okay, which means the bullet point is a part of the LI tag. Remember that. The bullet point is a part of the LI tag. Similarly, I can open another LI tag and say gardening, if in case gardening is your hobby, and then close the LI tag. If I want another list item, then I can say binge watching anything. Okay, and then close this LI tag. So this is how we can display list items on the browser. So let's implement this in VS Code. Before that, we will just see what is required. So you can see all these things are your hobbies. So we will display these one by one. After the paragraph tag, I will just say UL, which means an unordered list. Okay, but inside this unordered list, I have a list item, right? That list item will have the bullet point. That bullet point is of the LI tag. Remember that. Okay, that token is nothing but that bullet point. So that token is of the LI tag, not of the UL tag. But UL tag only represents an unordered list. So inside this LI tag, I will just say reading. I will create another LI tag. I will say solving riddles. Another LI tag. And I will say gaming. Another LI tag and gardening. And then finally painting. I just want to make it clear here that these are not my hobbies. These are just dummy hobbies that I have inserted here. Some of these may be my hobbies. Some of these may clearly not be my hobbies. Okay, so don't get influenced by these when it comes to me. Okay, this is not my personal choice. So with this, we are done with the hobbies section. Let's see how it looks like. So after refreshing, this is how it looks like, and it's quite similar to the existing portfolio that we have. We have list items, we have these bullet points, and just to give you a heads up, we can also use different bullets. So you can search about them. You can search about how you can change the type of bullet. Okay, in an unordered list, how can you change the type of bullet? You can search about that, and then you can use something else rather than a simple full circle. Okay, so with this, we are done with one more section, which is the hobbies section. And now we are left with our second last section, which is my philosophy. Okay, so let's get started with this. Since we are done with this section, we can close this and start with a new section. Let's give it an ID of philosophy. And let's start with an h2 tag that says my philosophy with a capital P. So after hitting refresh, this is how it looks like. Now in my philosophy, you can see that we do have list items. These are also considered as list items, but they are ordered, right? The first list item is this. It means that this is something that I would prefer, right? The second list item is this, and then the third list item is this. So here there's some order. And now you might have realized that in this case, we are not using the unordered list. We are not using the UL tags. We are rather using the OL tags. Okay. So let's see how we can use the OL tags here. Let's go back to VS Code. And after the H2 tag, we will use an OL tag. Now OL stands for ordered list. So inside the OL tag, we still have to use li. Okay, we will still have to use li, but since this is an OL tag, li won't have a bullet point associated with it. Rather, li will have a number associated with it. I hope this is understood. Previously, we had a UL tag like an unordered list, and because it was an unordered list, li had a bullet point associated with it. Now, because this is an ordered list, it doesn't have a bullet point, it has a number, okay, which is giving it an order. So let's see what the first quote is. So this is the first quote. This is the second quote. Copy this, paste it here. Remove the extra space if any, and create the third li tag. Copy and paste this here. Okay, and now let's see how it looks on the browser. Here you can see that by default, without us doing anything, we have 1 2 3, which is ordered. Okay, now there are other ways of ordering as well. You can also give like Roman numbers 1 2 3. You can also give ABC. So your first quote will be A, then your second quote will be B. So you can do that as well, but in this tutorial I'm not teaching that because I just want to teach you the basics, and other things you can figure out on your own. Okay, now that you know that we can change the ordering of a list item, you can search on Google and find out how you can change the ordering. That will be your task. How can you change 1 2 3 to ABC, or how can you change this to, you know, that I, then those 2 I's and 3 I's, okay, which are nothing but like 1 2 3. How can you change it into that? So that is something that you can try out on Google as well. But this is how we can create an ordered list, and we are almost done with our portfolio website. After my philosophy, we have a form. Okay, now a form tag is very important when it comes to HTML. However, we are not playing around with form a lot, but once we start learning JavaScript or once we start learning React, we will understand how important a form is and how important it is to handle a form correctly. Okay, but for now, this is like a contact me section. So let's design this quickly. I will come back to VS Code. We are done with the second last section as well. So I will close this, and the last section that we are going to do is the contact me section. So I will name this contact me or just contact, and then I have a form. Okay, so there is a form tag that we can use in order to display a form. So how do I know that that is a form? Because anything that takes input from a user, we are taking input from a user, then there's a button in which we are submitting the input that we have entered. All of this is done using a form, right? So even something that you use on a browser like a Microsoft form or a Google form, what does that form do? It takes input from you, and then on clicking the submit button, it will take the input that you have entered and it will process it. So we call those forms, right? Similarly, we call this a form as well, and to do just that, we have a form tag in HTML. Now let's see how we can implement this. This is nothing but a label. We call this a label. Okay, like remember when we were in school, we used to paste a label on our books, something like this. We had a book, an orange covered book, and on this book we had a label, right? What was the main purpose of this label? It had your name, so it had like this, a property, and then we used to write our name here, then your roll number, so on and so forth. So because this label was there, if your book was lost, or if your book was not with you, then any other person could look for this label and then look for you and give it back to you, right? So this is a label. Similarly, when we have any input fields, the user should know what this input field is meant for, right? In this case, I have this input field wherein I can type anything, but the user should know what this input is meant for and what should I type here. So for that, we have a label tag. And to enter an input, to allow the user to enter a particular input, we have the input tag. And this is a button. On click of this button, we will submit the form. So this is the button tag. A button can be displayed on a website using the button tag. Okay, so now let's build our form after knowing this. So inside our form, the first thing that we need is the label. So I will use a label. It is an opening and a closing tag. Inside the label, I will say name with a colon, and after that we have an input tag. Now remember, an input is a self-closing tag, so it's pretty similar to an image tag. In the image tag as well, we don't display any content, that's why it is self-closing. Here as well, you are only displaying a text box, you're not displaying any content, that's why this is a self-closing tag. Okay, input is a self-closing tag. Now inside the input, we need to specify what type of input it is. What are we going to take? Now in this case, I'm just going to take text. When it comes to name, I'm only going to take text. So the type of this input is text. Okay, done. After this, I have another label and an input. So I will again write the same thing. But this is email, and the input will now not just be text. Okay, if you can see here, this is email, right? So the input will now not just be text, it will be of type email. So HTML also has an input that will only take email. Okay, so I can just say type email. So I will hit save, and with this I think we should be able to see the form. Here, this is the form. Okay, I didn't write this, get in touch, so let's write that first. H2, and I will say get in touch. Okay, I will hit refresh now, and now you can see this is the form, this is the label, this is the input tag. But you will notice a difference. The input tag or the label does not take the entire width of the device, so that's why we will need a line break, and we know which tag is used to break a line, right? By now we should know which is the tag that is used to break a line. That is the break tag, the BR tag, which is a self-closing tag. Okay, so after hitting refresh, you can see that now email, the label of the email and the input of the email has gone to the next line, but here there was some space, right? And here there's no space. So in order to leave one line further, instead of one BR, we can put two BRs. Okay, you can put as many break tags as required unless and until you're satisfied with the layout. So in this case, now I'm satisfied, now it looks good. Now one thing that is missing is the button. Okay, this is the submit button. You can also see that on hover, the submit button changes color. Okay, which means it's telling us that you can click the button. Button is the only element in HTML which is clickable apart from the anchor tags. Okay, we will also study about the anchor tags, but in HTML, button is one such element which is clickable. So that's why when we are hovering over this element, it is changing the background color, which means it is telling the user that hey, if you click on this, this element is clickable. If you click on this, some action will happen. Okay, so after we are done with the label and the input tags, inside the form tag we can create a button tag, okay, inside which we will write submit. Now this button will also have a type, okay, it is of type submit, which means when we click on this button, our form will be submitted. Okay, what does this mean? It means when we click on this button, on click of this button, our form will be submitted. That's why we are giving a type of submit to this button. Okay, so I will hit this and hit refresh, and you can see, okay, I'll hit refresh here. Okay, so the button has appeared here. In order to bring this down, I will again have to use the BR tag. So after this label, I will use, first I will use two BR tags. Let's see how this looks like. And then, yeah, so this looks proper to me. It looks very similar to our existing website. So with this, we are done with our portfolio website. There are only a few things remaining, which is the footer. Now the only thing that is left is this horizontal line and then the footer, okay, which will be quick enough. So first things first, how to generate this horizontal line. In order to generate a horizontal line or sort of a line break, we have an HR tag, and there are different ways of putting this line break. So I will just use this HR tag here, and I will just hit enter. So after hitting enter, you can see that I already have a horizontal line, and after the horizontal line we need this footer. So this footer will so in this footer, what we usually have is the copyright or the name of the person or the agency that has created the website. Okay, so in this case, in HTML we have a tag called the footer tag, and inside this footer tag we can style this footer in our own way, and we can put content here. So the content that we are using is this, right? Made with love by Aishwarya. So I've made this with a lot of love and with a lot of hard work, and a lot of time has been invested in coining this website for you all, so that you can learn the different types of HTML tags. This is made with love. Make sure to shower your love on this video as well. If you have liked the content, then make sure that you like the content. You comment down below what changes I can make in my content, or what more projects you would like me to come up with. And also, it will be kind of you if you can hit the subscribe button next to my channel name, and also click on the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. It will mean a lot to me. It's free from your end, and of course you're getting more free content and more free quality content. Okay, so this is like a short promotion that I did, but I'll quickly move back to our website. So I will hit save and refresh this website, and you can see that we have made with love by Aishwarya right here. Now one more thing that I need to do here is I will have to center align this, and we do know how to center align this, right? So we need the center tag, CENTER. Okay, remember it is TER, and then I will just copy this content and paste it inside the center tag. After hitting refresh, you will be able to see the footer at the center, okay, in the center. So with this, we are done with the portfolio side. I feel that after the submit button, there's a space, right, a line space that we have. So just before the HR tag, we can put one BR tag, so that there's some space before the HR tag. I will hit refresh, and this is how it will look like, which looks pretty great. So now if I add my name here, and if I add my email address, ash@gmail.com, and then hit submit, you can see that it has submitted my input fields, okay, my input details. It has already submitted. It's a form. Right now it is not connected with anything, so my data is not going anywhere, okay, but the functionality is there. You might have seen that whenever we submit some information, the page refreshes, and then you go to the start of the page, and that is exactly happening. Now one last thing that I wanted to test here is the validation of our input tags. Now we know that for the first input tag we have given a type of text, but for the second input tag we have given a type of email. So why have we done that? Let's see that now. So if I just give Ash as my email, and if I type Aishwarya here because that is my name, and now if I hit on submit button, you can see that there is a validation message that is given to me, and the validation message says that please include an @ symbol in the email address because ash is missing an F symbol. This is because we know that all our emails are written in a way such that @gmail.com is present, right? Like @gmail.com or @outlook.com or @yahoo.com is written. Okay, that's why it's important that we have @gmail.com. So once we write our email in this way, only then will it accept our input in the form. So after we have the symbol, we can submit the form. If we don't have the symbol, that means the input field is not of the type email and our form won't be submitted. So this is why in the code we have type email. Okay, type email, and here we have simply type text. Now the input field also has other attributes, such as if we have type number. Okay, let's say we have another input field of number. So I'll do one thing, I'll create a label and I will say phone number. Okay, and after this I will have an input field. In this case, this input should only be able to take in numbers. So if that is the case, the type of this input field will be number. Now let's see how this is different from other input fields. So you can see that this is my number input field. If I try to type any text, so if I try to type any alphabets, this input field won't take any alphabets. So you can also try it on your device. Give a type of number to your input field and you will realize that it will not take any alphabets. Okay, it took an alphabet. Why is it taking? Okay, so it is taking E because E is in number format. It is exponential, right? E is exponential, that's why it is taking E. So E has a value in maths, but other than that it will not take any alphabet. But if you give a number to it, then it will take those alphabets. Apart from that, it also has these arrows, so you can increase the entered number, you can also decrease the entered number, and this will only happen if you give a type of number to your input field. I hope this is understood. So this is something that you can try out. Apart from the type, we can also give minimum and maximum. So to this number field, I can also say minimum. So I can say that the minimum number that I can enter here is 1 and the maximum number that I can enter here is 1000. Okay, I know that this is a phone number field, but I just want to show this to you as an example. So if I hit refresh and if I try to enter 0, okay, and then if I try to submit this, I will just type anything and anything @.com something, and if I try to submit this, it will give me a validation message. It will say that value must be greater than or equal to 1. So why did it say this? Because inside the input tag I have given these attributes. So these are called as attributes, and I'm saying that minimum number that needs to be accepted inside the form should be 1. Similarly, if I use something like 2000, okay, and now if I try to submit, it says that value must be less than or equal to 1000 because my maximum is 1000. Okay, so now if I enter something like 200, which is acceptable, now it will submit the form. So there are many things that you can try out with the input tag. Something which is valid, something which is invalid, a placeholder can also be used. For example, in this case, if I want to say enter your name, okay, then in this input tag I can use a placeholder and I can say enter your name. Okay, so if I hit refresh, you can see a placeholder here which is asking me to enter my name. So you can try out all the attributes that are possibly there in the input tag. You can try other things out and let me know how this works for you. This tutorial was just like a hands-on practice for you. Learning HTML will never stop because there are many things to be learned, but these small things you can of course try out on your own. Now that you know HTML, we can style this website accordingly. We can give it a different styling, make it look better. And we have missed one thing in this tutorial, which is links. Now, in our previous tutorial, we said that HTML means hypertext markup language, but I haven't used any hypertext here. I haven't used any links here. which is bad, right? Which is sort of like an insult to HTML. So what will happen in our next lesson is this. We will be using links in this website itself, and I'll show you the power of links, how we can embed one website into another. So if you're at all interested to learn more about this, I'll see you in the next video. You take care of yourself. Bye.